Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought to yourself, wow, I'm really crushing this whole adulting thing? Yeah, me neither. Most of us feel like we're perpetually one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. Your car makes that weird noise again, your phone screen decides to turn into modern art, or your landlord mentions the word maintenance fee, and suddenly you're questioning every financial decision you've ever made since you bought that overpriced coffee 3 weeks ago. But here's something that might surprise you. You could actually be doing much better financially than you realize. While you're busy worrying about whether you can afford groceries and rent in the same week, you might already be ahead of the majority of people around you. The problem is, we're terrible at recognizing our own financial progress, especially when social media constantly shows us people apparently living their best life on what seems like unlimited budgets. My name is Nick, and I help people understand the real signs of financial health, not the fake ones that get plastered all over Instagram. If you're interested in discovering whether you're actually doing better than you think, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this information helps you see your situation more clearly. The truth is, most people have a completely distorted view of what financial success actually looks like. We think it means driving expensive cars, taking exotic vacations, or having enough money to buy whatever we want whenever we want it. But real financial stability is much more boring and much more achievable than the flashy lifestyle we see online. It's about having systems in place, making consistent progress, and avoiding the financial traps that keep most people stuck. Today, I'm going to walk you through the real indicators that you're doing well financially, even if your bank account doesn't make you feel like a millionaire. Some of these signs might shock you because they're the complete opposite of what most people think wealth looks like. Others will help you realize that those small, seemingly insignificant financial habits you've developed are actually setting you up for long-term success. Before we dive into the specific signs, let me paint you a picture of what most people's financial lives actually look like. According to recent studies, the average person couldn't handle a $400 emergency without borrowing money or using a credit card. Think about that for a moment. A simple car repair, medical bill, or appliance replacement would throw the majority of people into financial chaos. Meanwhile, these same people might be driving cars with monthly payments that eat up 20% of their income, living in apartments they can barely afford, and spending money on things they don't need, with money they don't have to impress people they don't even like. This is what passes for normal in our society, which explains why recognizing actual financial progress can be so difficult. The first sign you're doing well financially is probably the most boring one, but it's also the most important. You pay your bills on time without stress or drama. I know, this sounds like the bare minimum of being a functional adult, but here's the thing. If you can consistently pay all your bills when they're due without having to juggle payment dates, borrow money, or choose which bills to skip this month, you're already ahead of a significant portion of the population. This isn't just about having enough money in your account. It's about having enough predictable income and enough financial organization that bill paying becomes routine rather than a monthly crisis. When your lights stay on, your rent gets paid, and your credit cards don't get hit with late fees, you've achieved something that millions of people struggle with every single month. The second sign is that you have money left over after paying for your basic needs. Notice I didn't say after paying all your bills, because many people have convinced themselves that their car payment, subscription services, and dining out budget are basic needs. I'm talking about actual necessities, housing, utilities, food, transportation, and basic clothing. If you can cover these essentials and still have money remaining in your account, you've crossed a crucial threshold. This leftover money doesn't have to be a massive amount. It could be $50, $100, or a few $100s. The specific amount matters less than the fact that it exists consistently. This surplus is what separates people who are barely surviving from people who have options. What you do with that leftover money reveals even more about your financial health. Which brings us to the third sign: you're saving something anything on a regular basis. It doesn't matter if it's $10 a week or $1,000 a month. The habit of consistently setting aside money for the future indicates that you're thinking beyond just getting through this month. Most people operate in what I call financial survival mode. They earn money, spend money, and repeat the cycle without ever accumulating anything meaningful. If you're regularly putting money into savings, an emergency fund, or investment accounts, you're operating at a completely different level. You're playing a longer game, and that mindset shift is worth more than the actual dollar amounts involved. The fourth sign might surprise you because it goes against everything we're taught about success. You don't feel the need to constantly upgrade your lifestyle every time your income increases. When you get a raise, bonus, or new job that pays more, your first instinct isn't to immediately find ways to spend that extra money on a better apartment, fancier car, or more expensive habits. This resistance to lifestyle inflation is one of the most powerful predictors of long-term financial success. It means you understand the difference between earning more money and actually building wealth. People who automatically inflate their spending to match their income will always feel broke, no matter how much they earn. But people who maintain their lifestyle while their income grows create an ever-widening gap that becomes the foundation of real wealth. The fifth sign is that you're not losing sleep over money. Financial stress has a way of creeping into every aspect of your life. It affects your relationships, your work performance, your health, and definitely your ability to sleep peacefully. If you can go to bed at night without your mind racing through financial worst-case scenarios, that's a strong indicator that your financial foundation is solid. This doesn't mean you never think about money or that you don't have financial goals and concerns. It means that money isn't a constant source of anxiety and panic. You might prefer to have more of it, but you're not genuinely worried about your ability to handle your financial obligations or unexpected expenses. The sixth sign relates to how you make purchasing decisions. You have the luxury of considering whether you actually want or need something before buying it, rather than just focusing on whether you can technically afford the monthly payment. This might seem like a small distinction, but it represents a fundamental difference in financial security. When people are financially stressed, they often make decisions based purely on cash flow. Can I make this payment this month? Can I squeeze this expense into my budget? But when you have financial breathing room, you can ask better questions. Will this purchase add genuine value to my life? Do I have a specific use for this item? Am I buying this because I want it or because I'm trying to fill some other need? This ability to pause and consider purchases rather than making impulse decisions or defaulting to whatever financing option is available indicates that you're in control of your financial choices rather than being controlled by them. The seventh sign you're doing well financially is something that would make your younger self incredibly jealous. You actually have choices when problems arise, your phone breaks, and instead of having a complete meltdown about how you're going to survive without it for 3 weeks until payday, you can actually decide between getting it repaired, buying a replacement, or upgrading to something better. This might sound trivial until you remember what it feels like to have no options. When your only choice is to suffer through whatever inconvenience life throws at you because you literally cannot afford to fix it, every minor setback becomes a major crisis. Having financial options doesn't mean you're rich. It means you've created enough buffer in your life that you can respond to problems rather than just enduring them. The eighth sign is that you're not constantly calculating whether you can afford basic social activities. You don't have to mentally compute your bank balance before agreeing to grab dinner with friends or attend a birthday celebration. This doesn't mean you're carelessly throwing money around at every social opportunity. It means that normal social expenses don't require a full financial planning session. I'm not talking about expensive vacations or luxury experiences. I'm talking about the everyday social activities that help you maintain relationships and participate in normal human interactions. Coffee with a friend, splitting a pizza for game night, or chipping in for a colleague's farewell gift. When these modest expenses don't cause financial anxiety, you've achieved something significant. The ninth sign is probably the most underrated indicator of financial health, and it's something most people never even think about. You have multiple ways to access your money when you need it. You're not entirely dependent on your next paycheck to handle your expenses. You might have money in checking, savings, or investment accounts that you could access if necessary. This doesn't mean you have vast wealth sitting around earning nothing. It means you've diversified your financial resources beyond just your monthly income. Maybe you have a small emergency fund, some money in a retirement account, or even just a few $100s in a savings account you rarely touch. The point is that you're not living exclusively paycheck to paycheck with zero backup options. The 10th sign reveals itself in how you talk about money with other people. You don't feel the need to constantly complain about being broke or make self-deprecating jokes about your financial situation. When money comes up in conversation, you're not immediately defensive or trying to prove how financially responsible you are to justify your spending choices. People who are genuinely struggling financially often can't help but make their financial stress part of every conversation. Every dinner invitation becomes an opportunity to explain why they can't afford it. Every purchase they make comes with a detailed justification about why it was necessary or how they got a great deal. When you're actually doing well financially, money becomes a much less prominent topic in your daily conversations. The 11th sign is that you're not afraid to check your bank account balance. This might sound ridiculous, but financial avoidance is incredibly common. Millions of people go days or weeks without looking at their account balances because they're terrified of what they might find. They operate on hope and vague estimates rather than actual information about their financial situation. When you're doing well financially, checking your balance becomes routine rather than anxiety-inducing. You might not love what you see every time, but you're not genuinely afraid of the information. You know roughly what should be there, and you're confident that there will be enough to handle whatever expenses are coming up. The 12th sign is that you've started thinking about financial goals beyond just survival. Instead of only focusing on making it through this month, you're actually planning for things you want to achieve in the future. Maybe you're saving for a vacation, considering buying a house, or thinking about changing careers. The ability to plan beyond immediate needs indicates that you've created enough financial stability to start pursuing wants in addition to needs. This forward-thinking approach to money is what separates people who are merely getting by from people who are building something. When your financial energy isn't entirely consumed by immediate survival, you can start making decisions based on long-term objectives rather than short-term crises. The 13th sign might seem counterintuitive, but it's actually one of the strongest indicators of financial maturity. You're comfortable saying no to financial opportunities that don't align with your goals or values. This could mean turning down overtime that would interfere with your personal life, declining investment opportunities that seem too risky, or refusing to lend money to people who probably won't pay you back. People who are financially insecure often feel like they have to say yes to every opportunity to make money, even when those opportunities come with significant costs or risks. But when you have financial confidence, you can afford to be selective. You understand that some money isn't worth earning, and some financial decisions are more important than maximizing short-term income. The 14th sign is that you've developed what I call financial patience. You can wait for sales, compare prices, and make thoughtful purchasing decisions instead of buying the first thing you find or whatever is most convenient. This patience extends beyond just shopping. You can wait for the right job opportunity instead of taking the first offer, or save up for something you want instead of financing it immediately. This patience isn't about being cheap or depriving yourself. It's about having enough financial security that you don't have to make decisions based on urgency or desperation. When you can afford to wait, you almost always end up making better choices and getting better deals. The 15th sign you're doing well financially is one that your past self would probably find absolutely shocking. You actually have things in your home that you bought but haven't used yet, and you're not panicking about the money you spent. I'm not talking about hoarding or compulsive shopping. I'm talking about having the luxury to buy something when it's on sale, or when you see a good deal, even if you don't need it immediately. Maybe you bought extra toiletries when they were half price, or you picked up a book you wanted to read eventually, or you stocked up on non-perishable food items during a sale. When you're financially stressed, every purchase has to serve an immediate need. But when you have breathing room, you can make strategic purchases that save money or improve your life over time. The 16th sign is that you've stopped doing math in grocery store checkout lines. You know that feeling when you're standing there watching the total climb higher and higher, mentally calculating whether you have enough money in your account and wondering which items you might need to put back. When you're doing well financially, grocery shopping becomes about choosing what you actually want to eat rather than an exercise in advanced arithmetic and budget management. This doesn't mean you're carelessly throwing expensive items into your cart or ignoring prices entirely. It means that buying food, one of the most basic human needs, doesn't require constant financial calculation and anxiety. You can focus on nutrition, preferences, and meal planning instead of whether you can afford to eat this week. The 17th sign is that you've developed what I call selective cheapness. You're willing to spend money on things that matter to you while being incredibly frugal about things that don't. This might seem contradictory, but it's actually a sign of financial sophistication. You might buy expensive coffee because you genuinely enjoy it, but refuse to pay for premium cable packages because you don't watch much television. This selective approach to spending indicates that you understand the difference between value and price. You're not trying to save money on everything, and you're not trying to buy the most expensive version of everything. Instead, you're making intentional decisions about where to allocate your financial resources based on your actual priorities and preferences. The 18th sign is that you can handle minor financial setbacks without them derailing your entire month. Your car needs new tires, your washing machine starts making concerning noises, or you get a parking ticket. And while these expenses might be annoying, they don't cause a complete financial meltdown. You can absorb these costs and continue with your normal financial routine. This resilience to minor financial shocks is one of the clearest indicators that you've built adequate financial cushioning. Most people are operating so close to their financial limits that any unexpected expense creates a domino effect of financial problems. But when you have even modest financial reserves, these setbacks become inconveniences rather than disasters. The 19th sign might surprise you because it's about what you're not doing. Rather than what you are doing, you're not constantly researching ways to make quick money online. You're not falling for get-rich-quick schemes, considering multi-level marketing opportunities, or spending hours trying to figure out how to monetize every hobby or skill you possess. People who are financially desperate often spend enormous amounts of time and energy looking for alternative income sources, usually in ways that are unlikely to produce meaningful results. When you're doing well financially, you can focus on improving your primary income source or building wealth through proven methods rather than chasing every potential opportunity to make a few extra dollars. The 20th sign is that you've started thinking about money in terms of opportunities rather than just obligations. Instead of viewing your income as something that immediately gets consumed by bills and expenses, you see it as a tool that can create possibilities. You might think about investing, starting a side business, taking a class to improve your skills, or saving for experiences that matter to you. This shift from scarcity thinking to opportunity thinking represents a fundamental change in your relationship with money. When you're financially stressed, money feels like something that disappears as quickly as it arrives. But when you have financial stability, money becomes a resource that can help you build the life you actually want. The 21st sign is perhaps the most subtle, but also one of the most important. You make financial decisions based on your actual situation rather than your fears about what might happen. You don't keep thousands of dollars in low-interest savings accounts because you're terrified of any investment risk. You don't avoid spending money on things that would genuinely improve your life because you're worried about some undefined future catastrophe. This doesn't mean you're reckless with money or that you don't plan for potential problems. It means you're making rational decisions based on realistic assessments of risk and reward rather than being paralyzed by worst-case scenario thinking. You understand that being too conservative with money can be just as problematic as being too aggressive. The 20-second sign is that you've stopped comparing your financial situation to other people's highlight reels. You're not constantly wondering how your coworkers can afford their lifestyles, feeling inadequate when friends talk about expensive purchases, or assuming that everyone else has figured out some secret to financial success that you're missing. Look, here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. Financial success isn't about having $1 million in your bank account or driving a car that costs more than most people's houses. It's about reaching a point where money stops being the main character in every decision you make. It's about achieving that beautifully boring state where your finances just work in the background of your life, like a well-functioning dishwasher that you only notice when it breaks. If you recognize yourself in even half of these signs, congratulations, you're doing better than you think, and probably better than most people around you. The fact that you watched a 20-minute video about financial indicators instead of scrolling through videos of people spending ridiculous amounts of money on things they don't need already puts you ahead of the curve. Remember, wealth isn't always loud, and financial stability rarely makes for exciting social media content. Nobody's posting screenshots of their emergency fund or bragging about how they didn't panic when their phone broke. But these quiet victories are what real financial health looks like. So the next time you're feeling like you're failing at this whole money thing, come back to this list. Check off the signs that apply to you. I guarantee you'll be surprised by how many boxes you can tick. And if you're not there yet on some of these points, that's perfectly fine too. Now you know what to work toward. Your financial journey doesn't need to look like anyone else's, and it definitely doesn't need to be Instagram worthy. It just needs to work for you.